BookTube. My name is Jess and I am here to do a BookTube video because I'm being blackmailed by Simon Savage. No, Simon said to make a BookTube video or he's banning me from his content, so I'm here to do a BookTube video. I do love talking about books, so I'm probably going to really enjoy doing this, but we'll see how this goes. What I thought I would do is I rearranged my shelves to make this section pretty for you. And this is Harley, by the way. And I pulled off some books that I think describe my taste. So these aren't necessarily my favorite books of all time. I haven't put enough thought into it for that. But these are books that I think will tell you about my reading tastes and what I like. So I'm going to be covered in dog fur. I shouldn't have worn black, but that's okay. Nothing in this house isn't covered in dog fur. So I think I'll start with the most obvious place, and that's here. I love Harry Potter. I recently did a reread or re-listen of all the audiobooks. I listened to the Stephen Fry ones. I finished that not last month, the month before, and it was amazing. I stand by the fact that the moment when Harry leaves Dumbledore's office after the Pensieve and walks to the Forbidden Forest is just so heartbreaking. It's probably the moment I cry the most of any book I've ever read. I loved this book. I love this series. Who doesn't? So yeah, I love Harry Potter, but really that really is only middle grade I read. I don't read a lot of YA either. So yeah, I do want to read Nevermore though. So something else I think that's quintessential to my taste in books is Stephen King. I started a Bookstagram, the word degree, it'll be linked down below. And it was based off Jobus89 and AB Reads, or Joanne and Abby on Bookstagram. They had a to Z King challenge 3 years ago, at some point, and I participated in that, and that's what I made my Instagram about. And so it was very Stephen King dedicated at the beginning. Now I've moved on into other books as well, but yeah. And this is my favorite Stephen King. Now I think this is a pretty popular choice amongst people who read a lot of Stephen King. I don't think it's a popular choice among people who've read one or two. You know, people have usually read The Shining, or they've usually read Pet Sematary or It, but Duma Key is amazing. It is about a man who, I think he gets injured. So I read this 10 years ago, and I haven't read it since because I'm scared that I'm not going to love it, but I'm going to try and read it in December. Anyway, what I think from what I remember is that it is about a man who retires or gets injured, and he goes to the Florida Keys, and he goes to this island, Duma Key, and he discovers a new talent to paint, and this painting talent, there's supernatural connotations, like it's Stephen King essentially. But what sets this apart from his other works is the characters, the characterization in this book, the friendship. Joanne recently had a post about how much she loved it. I'm sorry, that was my dog snoring. Recently had a post about how much she loved it, and go to that. I'll link her page down below. Yeah, but great book. So I also recently read from Stephen King, The Drawing of the Three, and I loved it. I absolutely loved this book. So what was interesting is in January I read The Gunslinger, and I didn't like it. I don't like his westerns, like Regulators and stuff. I'm not into spaghetti westerns, and so I didn't really like this. Like, I did not like it. It was fine, but I wasn't planning to read the Dark Tower series based off this first book. Then I went and saw the movie, and unlike every other constant reader, I loved the movie. I loved the concept, the idea of it, because it's not really this book, it's more all of them. And so I went and picked up this one, and it was amazing. It was so good. So I've ordered the third book, and hopefully I'll read that soon. Something else that I love. Okay, I see a book I love. I love Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a fantastic book. I ordered this off the Book Depository, and it's signed, and I'm so happy, and I'll never lend this out to anyone ever again. But I lend a lot of my books, by the way. But yes, this book is about a guy, and he is walking home to his family. He has a wife and a son, and he gets snatched on the street, and then he wakes up in a machine, and everyone says, "Welcome back." I forget his name. I think it's Jason. Welcome back, Jason. And he's like, "What the hell?" And he's in another life, and his wife and his son aren't there, and he's this famous person, and it's he made a big decision in his life, and it was essentially career or family. And in the first part, he is with his family, and in the second part, he wakes up in the world essentially like he didn't make that decision to be with his family, if you get what I mean. I don't want to tell you the trope that this is based on because it'll ruin it, but it's my favorite trope ever. It's sci-fi. I love sci-fi books. So Pan Macmillan also sent me Recursion by Blake Crouch. I get sent books because of my Instagram. It's a small Instagram, but publishers are super cool. And so Pan Macmillan sent me Recursion, and I loved this as well. If you loved this, you'll love this. They're the same vibe. So yeah, Blake Crouch, amazing. Speaking of sci-fi, I recently read just last month Exhalation by Ted Chiang. This was amazing. It was interesting to hear Books on Lala talk about it, because she said there's a story in here that covers like 3/4 of the book in the center. It goes to like 150 pages, and it's so good, and she hated it, and I was like, random, but I still love her YouTube videos, obviously. And so Ted Chiang is he wrote Stories of Your Lives and Others, I think it's called, a short story collection, and in that story is the basis for the movie Arrival, which I love too. So when Pan Macmillan sent me this unsolicited, I was so excited. And so yeah, I read that, loved it, amazing. The first story in this was really good. It was like about a portal that could take you back in time or forward in time in the desert. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. Something else I love that definitely defines my book taste, and I at least read one of these books a month, if not more. I've read like 7 this month. But Final Girls by Riley Sager. So I love thrillers. I love them. I don't often rate them 5 stars, but I still love reading them. Like, they're 3 or 4 star reads for me, and they're fast and they're quick and they're interesting and they're done. And I love them. This book in particular, this was a 5-star thriller for me because it was like watching a slasher movie in book form. It was just so good. I really want to reread this. I've got Riley Sager's other book, The Last Time We Lied, and I want to pick up the key one as well. But yeah, I haven't read anything else by him or her or Riley Sager yet, and I know that's a pseudonym for another author. I just haven't looked into it hard enough. But yeah, this is about 3 girls who all survived their own like slasher movies. Like, for example, I think it's Quincy. Yeah, Quincy, the main character in this book, the protagonist, survived a killer in the woods who killed her friends with a knife, like a slasher movie trope. And so these 3 girls survived these slasher things, and then they start talking because they're known as the Final Girls, and then one of them dies, and the other one, they start to think they're getting picked off, etc., etc. And it's good. The twist, amazing. Didn't see it coming. Seems really obvious now, but didn't see it coming. So loved it. Loved this. Sometimes I'm good at picking twists. Sometimes it goes right over my head. Something else I love in books. So I think my favorite trope would probably be unreliable narrator, like especially drunk unreliable narrator, or the drunk detective trope. Those are my 2 favorites. So like Girl on the Train, or I'm trying to think of a drunk detective trope, and I can't really think of one, but I really enjoyed this. This has a detective in it. So it's Bluebird by Attica Locke. This was really good because it also had like an undercurrent of like a race discussion throughout it. So the detective is black, and a black man and a white woman wash up, and they're both dead, and it's just an investigation around that and the murder. So I love a murder mystery. I should really read Agatha Christie. This is why I love Simon Savage so much, because we both love a good murder mystery, a good detective novel. I love it. But yeah, so I would highly recommend Attica Locke. This is her first book in the Highway 59 series. I've been patiently waiting for the second book, so I cannot wait for that to come out. But yeah, Bluebird, love that. Is there anything else? Yes, there is. So another big genre that I read is nonfiction. At the moment, I'm in a massive like history nonfiction kick. Like, I want to read history books, but my favorite nonfiction author, I just love her. My favorite person is Roxane Gay. She is amazing. I have both of her nonfiction books here. I've also read Hunger by her memoir, and I've got her fiction book somewhere on the shelves as well. I just need to get to it. But these are great. I can't choose. I loved them both, but I loved this book. I love her. She's so articulate. She has fantastic ideas. She doesn't apologize for being human and making mistakes, and she doesn't always think that she's right. She's open to a discussion, and that's what I love. I love someone who, that's something I could really take from these books, because I'm not always open to other people's opinions that don't agree with me. I tend to force my opinion on people in my life, like in my family. So something that I need to work on personally is really listening to other people's opinions and listening to their advice. I think that's something that Roxane Gay is really good at. It helps that a lot of her opinions are my opinions, so I agree with almost everything that she says. But yes, I do really like Roxane Gay. Like, I like her a lot. And I think she's a great arguer as well. So yeah, so that is the books. I think I went through all of them. Yeah, those are the books that I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope this sort of gives you an idea into what I'm into. I do like to collect classics. Whether I read them is another story. So as you can see, I have a bunch of the Penguin English Library classics, but I've read 4 of those. So that's like 10% of what I own. Yeah, so I do like classics. Oh, another classic that I really should, when we're talking about classics, I should talk to you about We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I loved this book. I read The Haunting on Hill House. I love Shirley Jackson. So this classic horror novel type thing, I just really vibe with that. So yeah, this is really good because it's you don't really know what's happening or who to trust. So it's about a family who live in, they're different from their community. Everyone in the community thinks they're weirdos. There's a rumor, so half the family died over a poisoned dinner, and there's a rumor that one of the sisters did it, but it's never been proven. Well, that her older sister, I can't remember, I think it's Mary Cat is the protagonist. Yeah, her older sister killed him, and so no one wants to be around her older sister, and it's their, everyone hates them in the town. I'm trying to remember because it was a while ago, but yeah, I loved this book. And so twist is great. Everything's great. Loved it. So yeah, well, we're talking about classics. So cool. All right, so that's my first YouTube video. I hope you guys like it. Leave some comments down below of video ideas, whether this is annoying, whether this low grade production of my iPhone is frustrating to you. But yeah, and also check me out on Instagram. That's where I talk to people and do the things. So cool. Bye.